There is a very specific type of vehicle taking over city streets right now, built entirely around maximizing visual impact. If you prioritize an aggressive wide-body styling over everything else, this is the ultimate prize. Automakers spend millions selling us a do-everything fantasy. They want you to believe you can have supercar looks and heavy-duty utility at the exact same time. Because when most of us buy an SUV, we hold on to this lingering fantasy of blasting through the desert or conquering a mountain trail. Here is the problem. Physics forces you to pick a lane. You have to choose between that extreme street aesthetic and actual off-road capability. Bolting high-end aftermarket concept styling onto an SUV directly strips away the utility it was originally built to provide. This table breaks down what we call the custom SUV paradox. On the left, under the aesthetic, you get the undeniable road presence, the aggressive stance, and the obvious status signaling. But look at the compromise column on the right. You are paying a hidden tax in harsh ride quality, specialized maintenance, and severe limits on where you can actually drive. We are going to look closely at the mechanical inputs required to build this exact stance, so you can decide if the visual clout is worth the functional tax. Because buying a street scalpel when you really need a jungle machete is an incredibly expensive mistake. The entire aggressive stance relies on this foundation right here: massive aftermarket alloy wheels wrapped in rubber band thin tires. Visually, it works. Filling the wheel well tightly gives you a track-ready look that standard chunky tires simply cannot replicate. This line graph maps wheel size against ride comfort. Notice the sharp downward trend. As your wheels get bigger, your protection against potholes drops rapidly. With barely any rubber sidewall to compress and absorb an impact, that kinetic energy bypasses the tire entirely and shoots directly into the cabin. The factory ride quality disappears. That massive energy transfer also means your rims take the brunt of the hit, making cracked alloys and pinch flats a constant threat. You are effectively turning everyday road seams and minor potholes into expensive, trip-ending hazards. Next, we have the aerodynamic modifications. Look closely at the deep front splitter and the extended side skirts hugging the ground. At highway speeds, this setup successfully reduces undercar airflow and creates a sleek, grounded silhouette. This wireframe highlights the vehicle's approach angle, the crucial metric for clearing obstacles. Watch how the aftermarket splitter drastically shrinks that angle. This lowered geometry turns an average parking curb or steep driveway into a serious scraping risk. Now compare those tight geometric angles to the aspirational, rugged idea of taking this specific vehicle off the pavement. Attempting to drive this build on a dirt trail guarantees you will shatter the fiberglass on the very first incline. Finally, let's look at the exterior finish. Notice how the showroom lights diffuse softly across this custom matte blue paint. Matte wraps and paint deliver a stealthy, highly unique look that a standard gloss finish cannot match. But keeping it looking pristine means you can never, ever run it through an automated car wash. You are committing to strict hand-washing protocols using specialized pH-neutral soaps designed specifically to prevent unwanted shine. This cross-section explains why scratches are fatal to matte paint. You can safely buff scratches out of glossy clear coats, but buffing a textured matte coat smooths it out, leaving a permanent shiny bald spot. Because you cannot polish out minor damage, a single deep scratch or an etched bird dropping often forces you to repaint or rewrap an entire body panel. Choosing a matte finish turns a quick weekend car wash into a high-anxiety, high-maintenance lifestyle. So we know the mechanical and financial inputs required for this build. Now you have to match those inputs to your actual lifestyle. Look at this decision tree, starting with your primary driving environment. If you are mostly driving on pristine urban streets and highways, you immediately have to answer a second question. Do you have the budget for specialized detailing and frequent tire replacements? If you answer yes and you value road presence above all else, this aggressive build is going to deliver exactly what you want. However, if you hit rough roads or severe weather, the tree skips the budget question and leads straight to a hard avoid. Being brutally honest about your daily commute and your maintenance budget is the only way to avoid buying the wrong vehicle. This deeply modified SUV is a masterpiece of pure urban aesthetics, but it is not a dual-purpose machine. if you actually plan to take your vehicle into the dirt, you need a completely different approach. Keep the factory bumper clearances, drop down a few wheel sizes, and invest in tires with plenty of thick rubber sidewall to absorb the impacts. But standing here looking at it, it is impossible to deny the visual impact this setup commands in its intended environment. There is absolutely nothing wrong with building a pavement princess, as long as you fully accept the severe functional and financial taxes required to wear